Let's talk NASCAR. Another playoff race behind us, and one more to come. Two will be gone after this week in playoff round number 2. Eric, so Texas, I'm just glad. I think we're all glad Texas is behind us.
Yep.
Everybody's glad. Look, I'll say this, and I was listening to another analyst on YouTube. He does a really good job. I think his name is Eric Estep.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
He
Yep.
does a really good job. Goes to all the races. Does so? I like to listen to what he says after the races. Get his point of view and such. And I think he's got an opinion that other NASCAR analysts do, not our opinion. And again, I think this is his opinion because he even pretty much said it yesterday. I think he prefers going back. He wants a regular race. He wants a race where the best car wins, and there's not all this craziness going on, and almost back to the way it was last year. Where the best cars win, and so forth and so on. And I think you agree with me. We couldn't be in more disagreement. I mean, I understand where he's coming from. That it almost cheapens it up a little bit when even the best cars are losing tires and their engines are blowing up and all sorts of weird stuff are happening. I get that, but I think most people understand that for any sport to get to the point where you need to be popularized and people get excited about it, you have to, number one, have parity. Something, and I know it's maybe a gimmick the way they're bringing the parity on, but I'd much rather have the gimmicky Texas parity than what we would have seen last year, which would have been a boring race won by a driver that had led 75% of the laps.
Yeah, I wish there was a way we could get parity without the chaos of. Yeah. That's what the problem with Texas was it was a combination between the tires, the teams running too low of air pressures, the track is crap. We keep talking about that. You put it all together, and I mean, you get 3 leaders crashing for no reason, no fault of their own from the lead. And you look at who they were: Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., bigger drivers, bigger teams. So I pause to say, like I said last week, that some of this parity is a byproduct of this car and the leaders or bigger teams having bad luck with this car. That I just wondered, once they figured it out, is that parity going to go away? Because how many times have we seen a top contender, Darlington, prime example, Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr., the top 2 late in the race, they both have mechanical failures, which hands the lead to Eric Jones, who led the rest of the way. It's like, how do we get Eric Jones winning, or how do we get Tyler Reddick winning Texas without
the gimmick?
Yeah. And I don't know the right answer, because I think that's what NASCAR is trying to figure out, and that's what these drivers are like, look, this is unacceptable. Yeah. Like the tires, and getting more deeper into it, it sounds like the crew chiefs went a little aggressive with the tire pressure, which we've talked about, which causes the blow, because not everybody blew tires.
Well, here's a great point Eric made, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Why don't you just have longer practices?
Yeah.
We don't need 3 practice sessions and qualify. We don't need all that. But just have one long practice session. Just one.
Yep. Like an hour and a half is all you really need. And I think a lot of these drivers said, even in the 20, 25 minutes they had at Texas, that they kind of noticed the tire wear. And that's why I say, some of these on the crew chiefs, and I get it. You're going to run the lower you run, the speed and the horse, or the speed and the downforce. And I get it. But when Goodyear is saying this is the specifications you should run, or you're going to be in problems, and they just do it against what Goodyear says anyways, well, what do you expect the result's going to happen? So that's why it's like, there's a problem going on, and they're quick to, it's the track, it's the car. And I get it, the car kind of aided with the air pressures, it's just kind of a catch-22, but Tyler Reddick went conservative. His crew chiefs even said, Richard Childress, the owner, even said, hey, we know this tire can have an issue. We've seen it at Kansas. It's the same tire. We saw the All-Star race. Go a little more conservative, and let's be sure our car gets to the end.
Isn't that the whole point of the entire season? is
Yes.
be conservative. Don't worry about leading laps in stage 1 or stage 2. Just get the car right. Don't kill your tires early. Don't force the issue, and it'll come to you.
And that's what I like about the less amount of practice, because that helps that. Because teams are figuring out as the race goes on. Because I feel like with more practice, the big teams are going to figure it out, and the longer you run, and then they're therefore, which is we get right back to where we were in 2019. So we don't want that. There's got to be a happy medium, and I don't think anybody knows that answer yet, and that's what they're still trying to figure out. I think safety, for one, we can't go backwards on safety. That's part of the car that they do have to fix. The tires, I don't know how much Texas, at first I'm like, this track is crap. We got to get away from here. All these single car crashes, a 4-hour race, 5 hours if you count the rain delay. It's like, that's too long. It's the track. But now after hearing what Goodyear and NASCAR and Richard Childress and all them say, like, no, this could be a crew chief problem. They're the ones stepping out. So yeah, you wrecked while leading because it's your fault. It's not necessarily the driver's fault.
You think they're doing too much? You think they're not adapting quick enough to what's happening?
I think it's that and this car, because it is a true stock car. There's not a lot of areas, like they keep saying, you can't really, well, we're going to manipulate this area to get an advantage, or we're going to go here to get an advantage. Well, you can't really do that. There's nowhere to do that without getting a massive penalty. Air pressure is one that you can do, and it's not against the rules. So I think that's where the air pressure, like, hey, a little bit here is going to gain you here, but you go too far, which these teams found out, and you overstep the boundaries. I mean, look at Bristol. It was all Fords that were blowing tires. There's a reason. You look at this past weekend, these crews, the tires were run too low, and that's what you see. And as they said, as the nighttime conditions happen, the track naturally cools, which adds what? More grip. More grip, the air pressure problem, boom, blown tires. So I think you just combine all of it. So it's like, yes, it's a byproduct of the new car, but it's not necessarily the new car's fault. It's these guys learning it, and they just overstep the boundary. So that's why part of me is like, well, that is going to create parity. It's up to you. NASCAR's saying it's up to you. So I think that could be cleaned up. I feel for a playoffs, and I wrote about this yesterday, it's kind of been a, lack of a better word, a shit show playoffs. We seem to talk about officiating. I don't know how the officials missed the Hamlin-Byron thing. That can't happen.
Right?
And then you got the tires. You've got these non-playoff winners. I feel like we're not focusing on the actual playoffs. And this is the biggest time of year, and it's like it seems like over and over again now we're not talking about playoffs.
As soon as Reddick gets knocked out of the playoffs, he wins the race.
He wins the race. Yeah. And it's like, and Justin Haley finishes third, and Chase Briscoe, who is not even the top 25 in either stage, finishes fifth. And like to your point, just don't overstep the boundaries. Let everybody else make mistakes, and there you're going to find yourself in the end.
You know, it's almost like, look, if you're gonna have a season like this, then you probably should have This is just, of course, they're never going to know. But if they would have known they were going to have a season like this, they could have had a completely different playoff system, let everybody in, because then anybody could have had a chance to win the championship. So
because that's what's bizarre now, because you've got Talladega this weekend and then the Roval, which either of those
knows
could go
what's
either way
happening in the next 2 weeks.
So if I'm in the playoff, just go completely conservative. Don't push anything, because I think it's shown these playoffs. The guys that don't put, I mean, we got Austin Cindric and Briscoe that made it through, and here they are looking pretty good within striking distance of now going to the round of 8. Are we going to have multiple rookies in the championship 4 just because they're maybe a little more conservative? So, yeah, I would play in that little box. And even if that means, like you said, you don't dominate early, let the other guys dominate, take themselves out, and top fives are going to get you a championship. It's kind of like IndyCar. Top 5, you don't have to win right now. It's going to show. We're 4 for 4. A non-playoff driver is 1. So you don't have to win to get by. Just get yourself some top 5s. Because we know now, at the very minimum, 6 people are moving on to the round of 8 without winning.
Yep.
Because there's only 2 races left of this round.
Yep.
So there's 6 spots left. So just get yourself some
But it is
points.
Talladega. And no matter where these drivers drive, they're going to get caught up. Unless they're way back behind the draft. And there's only so many guys who are going to do that. So, it's easier said than done. Somebody's going to get knocked out probably today. On Sunday, excuse me. Somebody's going to get knocked out, potentially. Just like Bell and Bowman are pretty much in a situation that, I mean, maybe if Bell and Bowman finish in the top 5 and don't win, and a few drivers crash, maybe they can get back into it, going into the Roval. Yep. Maybe. Possible.
That's where it's a slippery slope, because where they are in the points, do you punt on stage points and want to go for the win and fall further behind if you don't win? Or do you mix it up, get some stage points, and maybe the guys in front of you don't?
I think you go for the stage points. And I think you do that because you don't know. It's just a crazy track. It's a crazy situation. You never know when you're going to get hit and taken out. So just go for it. Just go for it.
Yep. And that's where that's where the season's crazy is. Here we just talked about being conservative. And they have to go for Gotta go for it.
Well, again, those two drivers have to go for it. Just those two.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but the other side is if you're on above the cut line and you get stage points and further yourself above the cut line, then that helps you even more.
Especially if you know you're not going to do well with the Roval, which includes who? That includes Hamlin?
Hamlin's not good at the Roval. Bell.
Well, Bell at least has been the one out of that group that you think he might be able to get a top 10. It's possible.
Yeah, he probably won't win.
No.
They're not good on road courses. So Briscoe hasn't been good on road courses this year.
But as far as that Toyota team, it's just Hamlin and Bell then, right?
Yep, that's where this week's big for them. This week's
really
Bell.
Big for them.
Yeah. And Hamlin just needs to maintain. That's where Hamlin's in the like. Do you go for the stage points and further yourself, knowing that if you get caught up in something, you've got enough points for a cushion? Do you lay back and try to get the points and maybe a win? That strategy is a big play here this week.
Yeah, because you would think that maybe if you have a fast car, most of the really aggressive driving shouldn't happen early. It shouldn't. So if you have a fast car, then just go for the major stage points early on. It's at least stage 1. Get those points, and then you could decide what to do after that. So at least you gobble up some early stage points in case you don't get them the rest of the race.
Yeah, because I look at a prime example just this past week with Chase Elliott, because I was questioning at the end of the first stage, that caution comes, he's in stage points. I think he was top 5. He was around there, and he pits for track position for the next stage. So he punted on stage points. Well, he crashed in the next stage. So he walked out of there with 0 stage points. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's 4 points to the good. So imagine if he got stage points. Yeah. That would be a little bit of it. So that's where stage points have changed a lot.
It's amazing that he is 4 points up, and he gobbled up so many points, so many playoff points all season long. And it's basically all gone.
Basically, he used his mulligan. Yeah. And the problem is
he used it up at the wrong track. Yeah.
So that's.
Well, at least he could win the Roval though. So
2 of the last 3 years he's won there. So he's got a chance. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That's why we like it. Again, it ain't perfect, but it's better than what it was.
I think you could say there's probably legitimate 25 to 30 guys that can win Sunday's race.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you guys, as usual, you've thrown in a whole bunch of picks we're going to go over. Before we do, fantasy-wise, now I luckily Reddick won for me because I had more of my drivers that went out. Bell went out, Wallace, Bowman. So I needed some help, and I got it with Reddick winning. And it kind of got boring, though, that last run again. So it's like happened the last couple of weeks. It's like when you get to that last run, that last caution-free run, it's just nothing, especially at this track. You could tell how boring this track would be without the chaos. It was boring. It was like nobody was catching. It's like I'm watching. It's like, and Blaney's got the 2 fresh tires, and then other drivers have 2 or none or whatever it was, or they had longer laps. And I'm going, okay, this will be interesting. Maybe he'll catch up. He was 2 seconds back, like 30 laps to go, and he ended up 2 seconds back.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Tires, no tires, 2 tires. Because I even made a note, which ended up, I was like, this is going to be worth mentioning at the end of the race with no tire fall off, and come to find out the tires are blowing, and that took that storyline away. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the second stage, because he stayed out, remember, he pit on lap 56 or 57. He didn't pit at the stage break. He had the lead to start the next stage. The guys behind him all pit right towards the end of that stage because it kind of cycled. And then you had the guys behind those guys that pit right at the stage break. He held them all off. It's like this guy has 40 laps older tires, and they can't catch him. And then you have the guys that pit. It should be the guys with the new tires moving their way through,
Yep.
but it showed that you can't. And it just looked to me too that what I didn't like. This is where the track's problem is. It just was embarrassing if a guy got a little bit off that bottom line. They got wiggly, and it's like, oh, you lost 4 spots. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. You should be able to come up out of that line and catch it. And the fact that it's like, so there's no incentive to go above the low. That's how the IndyCar race is there. You can't go in
now
that
they
line.
They only have one scheduled race there next year so far, and that's it so far. So that has to be it.
That would be it. Yeah, the schedule's out, so there's nothing
no
more,
way
but
they can go on past next year's race. They can't.
No, they've got to either tell them. And I thought Scott Miller from NASCAR's comments were like, this track is known to have problems recently, and he's even calling them out. So it's like, all right, you got to do something. You got to either go back to the old way, because let's be honest, the 1.5 mile tracks have been better this year. Maybe reconfigure and go back to the original Texas, or demolish the place and do a short track. There's talks, and the drivers are strongly against it, and I don't think I would be for it too. Moving the track to like an Atlanta. They're for changing the track.
Okay.
They're like, we got to change this track. But there's a lot of people like, well, let's just do what Atlanta did, because they're owned by the same.
So like another mini Daytona.
Yeah, and they're like, do we really?
They don't want that.
No,
short track's good. There's no short tracks in the middle of the country, so that would be perfect.
No, just make a hybrid, a progressive banking short track. Build it right. Like Fontana's going to move to a short track.
There you go.
So go to a short track, or my other thing was you got the grounds there. Charlotte's got the Roval, but make a road course with stadium. Like instead of doing a Roval, make a road course. Make it to a
road course. Come on. No more road courses.
You have to test it. I don't think they'd ever do it.
We have 6 road courses or no more. I don't want to see anymore.
Well, I was hoping they'd do a road course and we'd eliminate, like, move
another road course. Yes, that's okay.
And move Charlotte to 2 on the oval.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something's got to be done, because there's no way you can run it back right now and expect anything different next year.
No.
Because if the tires hold up, like you said, it's a boring race.
No.
The tires, ironically enough, by staying up.
Yeah.
But and the other thing, the last thing on this too is, can we get rid of 500-mile races outside of like Daytona and Darlington?
Yeah. I couldn't believe I was doing my football stuff with the thing on, and I'm like, and I keep turning back and realizing how long is this race? I mean, nothing's happening. Like, I can't believe it's like they're still in stage 1. It's like, what is going on here?
I made a note, and I think I tweeted it. I think they were on lap 158, only 158 laps in, and it was at the 2-hour mark. I'm like, that's way too long. And even they say it's, granted, I get that it started at 3:48 or 3:49 and ended like 9:10. And be like, well, there's a rain delay. That was only 55 minutes.
Yeah.
It still would have been an 8. So you're still going, take the rain delay out to 8:15 you're ending. It doesn't really,
too much.
It's like, it's way too long. You should not start a race and end leading right into Sunday Night Football kickoff. That is, that's never going to be good.
No.
So yeah, let's go to 400 miles for this race in the future. Get it over with.
I hope that at least, do that for next year and then blow it up.
Yep.
All right. So because Reddick won for my car in fantasy, I held a 100-point lead on your drivers because Logano finished second on your end. I had Reddick finishing first, and Briscoe finished 5th for me. You mentioned Briscoe, which was nice. Blaney also finished in the top 5. CJ lost major points, so he's got a lot of work to do. But that's because he has Kyle Busch, who keeps wrecking, and even Martin Truex Jr., who just keeps finding trouble now. So what a surprise! Kyle Busch had an accident. Something happened. I mean,
I think it's time. Like he even mentioned after what do you need to turn the tide? 2023. They're done. You can tell they have checked out. It's like terrible. Okay, let's just.
Come on.
I feel bad for his team now. Like we thought, like I kind of figured with the playoffs with them not having a lot of playoff drivers, I didn't realize it would look this. I mean, he's had what 3 or 4 weeks in a row where he's had 3 guys in the 30s. It's like it's not going well.
And that was, and he has Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. And you would have thought 6 months ago, like I said, he's got the team to beat. And look what's going on. And by the way, 2 drivers that we don't have on our teams. Stenhouse led 23 laps, and Keselowski led 31 laps. Oh wait, did I say we didn't have on my teams? Because I'm going to make a switch.
I was going to say you're good. I wanted Keselowski. But I was going to drop Austin Dillon. I'm like, that'd be a foolish move when he just won Daytona and finished second at Talladega in the spring. Because I think Keselowski, he's a threat to win this week. But I'm like, who do I drop?
I know.
Buscher is in a hot hand. Yeah, I can't.
You know who
Buscher.
I have to drop?
Who else?
I've got.
Is it Bubba? Which is
no,
good
I
there.
wouldn't drop Bubba. It's between Bubba, because the way he's going, it's Bubba, Briscoe, Harvick. Are like my bottom 3.
Yep.
I've got to drop Briscoe, and I know he's just coming off a 5th, but I just can't be. I mean, is that to me that all right? Well, we'll see next week, and maybe somebody picks Briscoe up if he does well this week. But I'm willing to take the chance. I've had Keselowski before, so I'm just like I had Bubba. So I'm going back again with Keselowski. He worked with Bubba, and why not? Because Keselowski's he's clearly in his best 4 races of the season.
You could tell they're heating up. They're finally figured it out. And that's said Austin Dillon was like, do I drop him? And I have both RFK drivers. You could kind of see the momentum shifting to him. Like, okay, this is working for him.
Well, didn't Dillon finish second at Talladega this year?
He did. That's why I didn't drop him. I was like, and he won Daytona.
And he won Daytona. So
I can't drop him. It's like, is that real? How much of a gain is that really going to be?
Yeah.
And then neither of them are really worth much on road courses.
No, that's what I'm saying. This might be a 1 week thing for me. It's possible. Yep.
So that's why I just stayed put. There's nobody else on my team. That's what's good about my team right now is they're all like top 15. They're all mostly in the top 15 every week. And I'm like, you can't drop somebody like
Buscher just came off a win. You know? I mean,
and he was running up front in Talladega in Texas, if not for those spins.
Yeah, that's true too. And then you don't. I mean, Dillon though, if he doesn't, depending on what happens this week, then you can reconsider that.
Yeah,
but you should have him at least 1 more week.
Yep, so. That's why I just stay put. So,
and there's so much craziness going on with non-playoff drivers and guys that are free agents that there's more opportunities for us to go, hey, well, maybe I'll pick up Haley if he has a good week this week and he goes 2 for 2 with top 5s or something. Why not? I mean, come on.
It seems like the week, though. That's why when we get into our picks, I went kind of heavy on drivers again because it ain't gonna happen. But out of all the playoff races, this is always one like, oh, this is the one the non-playoff guy is going to win. It's Talladega. But this is going to be the one the playoff guy is going to win because the non-playoff guys have won.
Probably.
So
probably.
A good debate we can have for our fans to comment on is I was talking with the NASCAR radio guys last week, and they had a question, and I'm curious what the fans' thoughts are. What do you call a driver that's been eliminated? Like, is Kyle Busch a playoff driver anymore? Tyler Reddick a playoff? Yes, they're not in the playoffs, but they're still a playoff driver, aren't they? Because they made the playoff. You don't just strip the name.
Sure.
So it's like, so what do you call, like Tyler Reddick is prime example. He made the playoffs. He won the race. Did we call it 4 non-playoff winners?
In other words, we need to come up with a term.
Yep. I say championship eligible drivers.
Championship eligible.
Because like I used the example of them, like he's from, so John Roberts in the midday portion is from Tennessee. I was like, well, your Titans last year made the playoffs. They were beat by the Bengals. We don't say the 2021 Tennessee Titans weren't a playoff team.
Sure. Yeah.
They were a playoff team. You always just, so we're not going to look back on 2022 and say Tyler Reddick wasn't a playoff driver because he was a playoff driver. It's just weird in a sense that these guys keep racing, even though they've been knocked out. But they're still, so that he was on the side that you still call them playoff drivers. I'm like, I think you still do. They still are a playoff driver. So that's where the debate comes.
Yeah, that's fine. You could say that, and then you could say, but he is not a championship eligible
where
driver.
So I'd be curious what our listeners
There you
What
go.
do you think they should be called?
What do you think?
Because it could get confusing. Cool. Yeah, because it's like, what do we call it? You can't call it playoff driver and championship eligible. It's like, that's not cool.
No.
Not names for this, but it's got to be something. But it just makes it weird. It's like, well, are we 4 for 4 with a non-playoff driver winning? I'd say we're 3 for 4, but we're 4 for 4 with non-championship eligible. Yeah. But it's a weird way, because I think it could confuse fans. And like a common fan, like, no, he's a playoff driver. He made the playoffs.
You know, that would actually be another wrinkle that would be kind of cool with the playoffs, is that maybe you could do something where any driver that gets eliminated, if they win the next race, the first race of the next round, they get back in.
That's what you don't get to use it. That'd be a good one. You're back in, but your first one to get back in, you don't get to use to advance. Now, if you win again in that round,
true,
you can use it to advance.
Yes.
A win gets you back in.
Yes.
For a playoff driver.
Yes.
But only for one. I would even use it as only for one that was eliminated the round before.
Correct.
Because you don't want to get guys like Kevin Harvick wins Martinsville and all of a sudden he's back. It's like, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think that would give an incentive for Tyler Reddick to go out and win Talladega, which he very well could. He finished second Daytona and get to the round of 8. You're not totally out of it. You're out of it at the start, but since you're still racing, you get a chance to bump your way back in.
Yeah.
I think that would actually make a good wrinkle.
And make because you want more parity, more opportunities.
Well, it adds more it helps the sponsor, it helps the team, because you got another wrinkle to it.
It's not over yet. We can still win next week.
Yep. So good wrinkle.
All right. Now, so how many drivers did we all pick together? And believe it or not, with all the drivers that everybody picked, it was only 4.
Really? I would have thought it'd been higher.
That's my fault, really.
Blaney?
Yes.
Logano?
No.
Ooh.
There were several that I didn't pick that I might regret.
I'm trying to think. Keselowski?
Yes.
Buescher?
No.
McDowell?
Yes.
There's 3. So there's one more.
He's a top contender.
Did I choose Chastain? Did I choose him?
No.
All right,
only
Byron.
CJ did.
Byron?
No, only you did.
I'm trying to think of who else is up there.
It's an obvious one.
It's got to be. I'd say it's got to be somebody. Hamlin?
Yes.
I'd say I was going down my playoff list here. I'm like, who would not be it? Who have I not said yet? Yeah, Hamlin. Yeah, I'd be the.
All right, so you have 6 drivers that are 12-1: Logano, Larson, Hamlin, Elliott, Byron, and Blaney. So I only took 3 of those drivers: Blaney, Elliott, and Hamlin. CJ took them all except for Byron, and you took 4 of them. You did not take Elliott or Larson. Now Larson, of course, even though he finally did something this year on one of these tracks, finishing 4th at Talladega, led 32 laps, still. I mean, if we're going to take Larson, this is not the week to take him.
No.
Even though he's
32, 31 super speedway starts, and that's his only top 5.
There you go.
Like, it goes to show again, I don't know what the odds are.
Yeah, the odds should not be 12-1.
Truex shouldn't be up there. I don't think Elliott, at
least Truex is down to 20-1 now.
Yeah, they got him down a little bit.
He still should be 40-1.
Yes, but we did say last week, 12-1, 14-1 are probably going to be the favorite range, and that's true. It seems like they just put everybody at 12-1 and 14-1 up top. So,
first go around, the odds were Blaney was the favorite at 10-1, then Logano at 12, and then there was 6 drivers at 14. Larson was 16-1 back then. Byron was 18-1.
Yeah, I don't get the Larson, and Elliott has never had a top 5 in the fall there. And I just feel like he's just reeling right now. That's why I didn't go his way. I just don't see it if he's going to win a race this round. And I just don't see it being Talladega.
Yeah, he's done so well this year. And I'm not picking him to win the championship, but yeah. And I know he could win next week. Better chance probably than this week. But I just felt real strange.
He was 7th. Yeah, he was 7th in the spring.
If he crashes, wow. I mean, he'll be a winner or go home next week, which is absolutely crazy.
I'm sure he's got to be safe, even being 4 points up. It's like you might just punt on the stage points and get yourself a finish in the end.
All right, so Blaney's got the 2 wins in his last 6 races. Byron was led 38 laps this year. He's got 2 top 5s with a runner-up in his last 4. I don't know. I just haven't really seen Byron as this. I mean, we know he won Atlanta, right? He won Atlanta. So he's got that in him. But it's not like he had this great history on the super speedway tracks like this. So, but, again, it's one of those drivers that I just didn't, again, normally I haven't taken any of the favorites, but this is a race where 12-1 is different from taking 6-1 favorites.
Exactly.
So I still put a few in there, but again, my philosophy was, of course, on this race, you've got to take long shots. And I think the major difference is that I went with drivers like, say, that you didn't, like Bowman and Harvick and Bell, because you didn't go with Bell either. And I know Bell doesn't have a great history at this track. He only has 1 top 5 out of 5 races. But 18-1 is not bad for Bell. That's okay. It's just amazing how all of a sudden he went to the championship lead, and now he's all the way at the bottom in one race.
Just that's how quickly these points can go. And that's what these drivers have said, how tight. Nobody ran away from each other in the regular season. So you get in the playoff points, everything was so jumbled that one bad race could, went from points lead to last, just like that. So
now, Elliott has a win at Talladega back in 2019. He has 3 runner-ups as well over his last 9 with a win, but he's only led 3 laps in his last 3 races at Talladega. Hamlin has 4 top 5s in his last 8 with a win in 2020. Logano has crashed in 3 of his last 4 at Talladega, but he has 3 career wins there. And Chastain at 15-1, he is the winner. He did win this race this year. Another one of those super speedway winners with 1 lap, last lap.
Seems to be more times than not. Yeah, the trends are not on his side to sweep Talladega, but
no,
doesn't seem like many trends other than the guy is not the lead. The winner is not going to lead a lap till the final stage. That's really about the only trend that seems to keep occurring. So we'll see with Chastain. I mean, this is a track like we always talk about Chastain paybacks. Nothing's happening this week. No. You don't do that at Talladega. No. So he's got a shot. He's aggressive, but sometimes aggression gets him in trouble. Daytona, he finished 40th and 33rd in the 2 races. So it's feast or famine for him on these type of tracks. And I thought 15-1 for trends against him. That's why I didn't go his direction.
Wallace is the defending champ, but that's his only top 10 in 8 races. But we know he could race on these types of racetracks. That's the given. Bowman, runner-up in 2019. That's his best finish. Was 9th this year. Harvick has got 3 straight top 10s. Just 1 win, though, in 43 races. Matter of fact, Kyle Busch also has just 1 win in 30. So Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick had combined 2 wins, career wins at Talladega. Keselowski, though, as we said, we all went with Keselowski. Why not? He's got 6 wins at Talladega, and that's and now he's coming in hot.
I was shocked he was he 20-1?
That's a good number.
20-1. Yeah, he should be up near the favorites. That baffled me. At 20-1, I'm like, I'm going that way all day. I was looking, the first odds came out I saw on DraftKings. I'm like, where's Keselowski at? And then I kept going down and down. I'm like, 20-1 for the guy that just won a pole?
Yeah.
And the guy that led the most laps at Bristol, who's got 6 Talladega wins, who was good in the Daytona, 20-1. Like,
yeah, those odds are going to come down at sports books.
I think a lot of people are probably going to jump on him soon. So, yeah.
You put 21 on him. I put 35 on him. So, again, some of my extra money went to Keselowski instead of some of these other drivers. Suarez only has 1 top 10 in 11 career races. Dillon, as we said, 2nd earlier this year, even though he's only led 2 laps at Talladega in his career. Almirola's got a 2018 win. He's 30-1. Haley, 12th this year. He's never had a top 10, though. He's down to 50-1. Gregston was 5th at the last Daytona race, and Castle was 4th at the Coke Zero Sugar 400 race as well. That's why I put a little couple of bucks on those guys. And then LaJoy, we both put money on LaJoy. So he's 100-1 now, LaJoy.
Yeah, he's always my guy at these super speedways. I always go his way. He's always a top 10 guy. It's just, can he win? I had to.
Yeah, he's got, so really top long shots would have to be McDowell. Well, for me, top long shots are McDowell, Stenhouse, and LaJoy.
Yeah.
Because Stenhouse, who I didn't mention, if you take a look at his career here, it's also very good. He has, what does he have? 9 top 10s, 6 top 5s, and a win in 18 races. So he's 50% in the top 10. It's clearly his best track. He won in 2017 and was runner-up in 2020.
Yeah, he as long as he can avoid the wreck, he'll be there. Yeah, he's a good long shot. McDowell, you said. I think Buescher is like 35-1. He's not a bad option. Never won a super speedway, but he's always been near the front. LaJoy, that's a great one. I mean, he's always near the front on these tracks, especially at the end. So Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon's another good long shot.
Yeah, I put money on Dillon too. So did you. Yeah.
Yep. He's always, I think at one point he had like 6 straight top 11s at Talladega. He's really good at Talladega. And with the Petty GMS car, we already saw Eric Jones win with him. So why not Ty Dillon? I mean, this is probably his last shot for a win before the end of the season. So they don't need stage points. They could ride around in the back. They can make sure they're there in the end. And remember the Daytona 500, him and Eric Jones are running the top 10 at the end. They just got caught up in that big wreck. So if luck has it, I would not put it out of a Ty Dillon winning this race.
And then as far as other trends at Talladega, the last 2 winners started 19th. So whoever starts 19th, maybe you throw a couple of bucks on him. 6 of the last 7 winners started outside the top 4 rows. The only one that won in that stretch was Denny Hamlin on the pole in 2020. And in the Geico 500 earlier this year, Ford did not have a driver finish in the top 7. Chevy had 5 of the top 7 finish at the Geico 500.
Yeah, Chevy is Ford dominated the Daytona 500. They dominated Speed Weeks. Chevy's won everything super speedway-wise since. And the starting trend, to go back to the 2020, remember, there was no qualifying for that race either. That was just kind of line up and race. So yeah, that's why I had starting spots seem to not matter at Talladega. And another weird thing, like I mentioned earlier in the show, out of the 8 years this race has been in the playoffs, 7 of them have been won by a playoff driver. Bubba's the only one to not be a playoff driver to win. It just seems like the playoff guys win this race.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but we'll see. We'll see Sunday.
Yeah, it is strange that, we talked about that. Isn't it a little weird? I mean, anything can happen at Talladega and the playoff drivers were winning it.
And I think I need to look it up. I've got it in one of my posts. I just don't have it in front of me. I think it's been 4 or 5 straight years that the winner of this race, excluding Bubba, because he wasn't in the playoffs, were in like 9th through 12th in points. They bumped their way in to the top. So guys below the cut line right now, probably good to throw some money their way if that trend holds true.
So that would be what? Briscoe, Cindric, Bell, and Bowman?
Yep. Which I think you've got all the above.
What's that?
So which I think you put, other than Briscoe, all the above. So I think you're already good on that.
Well, I have Bell and Bowman.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't have a...
and I just ditched Briscoe. But Briscoe finished 3rd at the Daytona 500.
And his only reason he was 37th in the spring, remember, he got caught up in that big wreck early on. Pretty hard hit. So we'll see. I mean, it's survival.
Hopefully I didn't overthink this.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
I think it's worth a gamble.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the guy just scored his first top 5.
Yeah.
Like, the win. The Coca-Cola 600. That was the last.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he finished 4th there, I think.
Yeah, that was his last top 5, other than last week. So, and even last week was flukish. He had admitted we were a 20th place car. I just got lucky. Everybody just kind of took themselves out. So I just don't like the way they're trending right now.
Yep. Okay, so top 3 picks.
Logano, Blaney. I'm gonna go Logano, Blaney, Keselowski.
Oh, the old teammates.
Yep, 3 Fords. Sleeper out of those, I think it's a big week for Penske. Sleeper, Cindric. 1st and 3rd and 3 of his 5 super speedway starts if you count Atlanta. Okay. So I think it's a big week out of Penske this week.
And who do you think? Just guess who you think might get knocked out. And of course, it's got to be a top 8 driver right now.
As far as going to the Roval, who's going to be on below the cut line?
Yeah, who's gonna have the bad luck? Who's gonna be like, wow, they're in trouble now, and they weren't in trouble right now?
I'm going to go Elliott. I think that storyline is going to be the 40 playoff points in the regular season. He's going to be below the cut line going to the Roval.
That would be drama filled if he has to win that race.
He was in that position the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what I'd like to happen? I'd like to see if Larson also gets caught up. I'd like to see Elliott and Larson have to win that race, and I'd like to see them both, in the lead.
Remember
what
happens,
teammates.
Remember Watkins Glen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep, that would be interesting.
That's what I'd like to see.
Well, you know what? I could see it because I could see a Cindric winning and moving his way up. I could see Bowman running decent, getting some points to move his way up. I could see those two getting knocked out early and falling below the cut. Yeah, that could realistically happen.
That would be nice. Well, we'll see. And then, by the way, we haven't had any futures come out yet. I don't know what they're waiting. I don't know. Maybe their minds are spinning.
Well, I'm wondering this. I'm assuming today's penalty day. Tuesdays are always penalty day. I wonder if they're waiting to see what they decide on the Byron Hamlin incident. Because NASCAR mentioned that they could take a penalty for Byron now that they've seen the incident. Like, no, we could go back and penalize him. So if they penalize him, it has to be a points penalty. You're not going to do anything monetary, or you can't drop him in the finishing order.
That's got to be it, because there's no other reason. They got the futures out for the Xfinity.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're waiting to see how that's going to shake everything up, because, I mean, yeah, if you take 25, 50 points away, he's screwed. He's now way back there. So I think maybe that's what they're waiting on, because you don't want to put odds out and then all of a sudden here later this afternoon it changes.
That would be crazy if they did that, though. I mean, that would be something.
I'm also wondering with Ty Gibbs how much he's going to get penalized, because that incident on pit road where he tried to run Ty Dillon down into a pit crew guys. I don't think NASCAR is going to take that too lightly.
Yeah, especially you're not in the playoffs, so you can hammer him all you want. That's probably a good idea. A young kid.
You send a message. Yeah, that's dangerous. But are they going to stick it to just Cup? Or because I can see that being like a probationary thing. Like, hey, look, we're not putting up with that. How does that affect the Xfinity side?
Well, let's see. Gibbs and Cragson are 2-1 right now. So they already got the odds out there. And then Allgaier 3-1.
That's
so it's down to those three guys. Is that pretty much what's going to happen in the Xfinity Series?
Yeah, Allmendinger I wouldn't sleep on. What's he right now?
10-1.
Yeah, he's good at Phoenix, and I think he's got like 8 top 7s in a row.
I never heard of Riley Herbst.
Yeah, he's not a
Sam Meyer. Never heard of these guys.
Yeah, those guys aren't going to win the championship. So.
Okay. So anyway, we weren't able to update our futures yet, but we will as soon as we do. We will post them at racereviewonline.net. That's where you can check out not only all of our futures picks, but of course our fantasy standings. They're updated, and right now I've got a 340-point lead on Eric, a 975-point lead on CJ. That could all go away in one crazy race at Talladega. I could be in second place next week.
Yep. That's how Talladega is. One turn, one crash can
and CJ can get right back into it.
Yep. You never know, Talladega.
Yeah. So we'll update all of that. Again, check out racereviewonline.net. Other than that, with the IndyCar season over, what else do we look forward to at your website during this time of season?
Yeah, just all race weekend stuff.
All NASCAR now, pretty much?
Yeah. Yesterday, Jimmy Johnson announced he's not going to be full-time anymore. So that's up right now. And
how gave up already.
Yeah, he realized that when he retired, he wanted to do just that, kind of retire and run less. Not retire full-time, run part-time. And then he quickly found out last year, running 17 weekends, races, and he had a qualifying weekend for Indy. That's 18 right there. That's half of a 30. So you've already had a half a season. Yeah. Then you throw in simulator work, a few test days, him still trying to learn this car, running some IMSA races.
Much.
Yeah, he's like, I'm on the road again. I'm pushing 25 weekends. So what he wants to do is just go back part-time and run what he wants to run. I keep hearing Daytona 500 in the cards for him again. He wants to run the 24-hour race at Daytona, Sebring, Le Mans. I keep hearing he's going to be in that Hendrick car over there. The Indy 500. He wants to do the double. So I think you're going to probably see Jimmy do the 500 and the Coke 600
So he'll be
in the
back
same
in
day.
the Cup Series next year for a few races.
Probably a few races. Yeah, he just wants to go out running. Just, hey, let me run the big races that I know I can win, and let's just not wear myself out when I'm supposed to be retired. So you got that. That's all up there. How that
It's
affects
interesting now that he's retired, he's coming back to race like in the races that they all hate.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
The marquee races they seem not to like, but yeah, you got that. So that affected IndyCar's silly season. I got that up. The schedule for IndyCar is going to be released here in about 10 minutes for next year. So I'll have that up. I got my takeaways. It's already kind of, I already kind of know what's on it. So I've got my takeaways done already. So I'm just waiting for the schedule to drop. So that'll be posted here within the hour. So I'll have that up. So
it'll probably be posted just about when we post this.
Yep. And then when this is posted, I'll have our fantasy team and then our weekly picks when I get those, because I'll put the link to this in those. So I'll have that all posted by the end of the day. So.
And then next week we'll talk about the Roval, and then we're on to the final 8, and that means we start the final 8 with Vegas. So we have 2 hot places, Vegas and Homestead.
And Vegas has the same tire that we just saw at Texas.
Oh, okay.
And the same tire that was at Kansas that solved the tire issues. So
Alex Bowman won the race in Vegas.
Tires
so
may be an issue
through this round, which right now it's not looking too good. But.
No, tires are going to be the issue there. That's going to be the talking point going in, because it's with the same tire. In Kansas, we had tire problems. Texas, we had tire problems. It's the same tire going to Vegas. So I think that'll be the story of the week leading in.
Well, we'll see if they give him any additional practice time.
Maybe the crew chiefs will adjust that air pressure a little bit.
Probably. Let's just chill out.
Yeah.
All right. So that's coming up in the next few weeks here on the show. Again, the question of the week. Give us a nice little nickname for non-playoff drivers, or non-eligible playoff drivers. That are no longer in the playoffs, that were actually playoff drivers, if you get all that. So let us know what you think. Give us some cool nickname. Can't think of anything, then we'll go with Eric's championship eligible drivers who are no longer in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Eric.
Sounds good. Thank you.